I will jump right into it. The Raptors beating the East leading Philadelphia 76ers. It's the 16th straight time at home that the Raptors have beat Philadelphia. And they did it on the back of some stupendous defense. Absolutely stifling. Boucher and Baines playing together and played quite well as anyone can against Joel Embiid. And the Sixers went 8 minutes without making a field goal and got most of their points from the seemingly unlimited free throw opportunities that they received throughout the game. I believe Embiid and Simmons both had more free throws in that game than the Raptors team had before the foul game late in the fourth quarter. So some great defense from the Raptors. Offense was really sloppy, and there were so many points where they could have let Philadelphia back in this game, but some missed free throws, some missed wide open 3-point attempts, and Philly just didn't want to get back in it. And big win for the Raptors as they beat Minnesota in a tough back-to-back 3-game-4 nights slog fest on Friday. And the highlight of that game wasn't even the Raptors winning. Sorry.
That was just such a sloppy game. I did catch they also had like an 8.5 minute stretch without a field goal.
I don't know when the next time we're ever going to see an 86-81 game in the NBA ever again. Like, all these games go over 100. So just a really an ode to the 80s, or not the 80s, to the 90s, early 2000s with that one. And yeah, just the highlight of that game was Anthony Edwards sending Yuta Watanabe to the Shadow Realm. That dunk was absolutely absurd. And if you haven't seen that, you got to go watch it about 50 times in all the different angles. I love Yuta. He provides a ton of energy on defense, and obviously you respect him. Aaron Baines right beside him is the king of getting posterized. But hey, at least he jumped, right? At least you go challenge it. I know the dude just career-ending type dunk, at least from a publicity standpoint. But you got to respect that he at least got up there. But hey, Raptors, second hottest team in the league right now. Them and Washington both have won 4 in a row behind Brooklyn, who have won 7 in a row. And they continue to fight and claw their way up the standings. And that game last night was another one of those games that just kind of remind you of the Raptors teams of the past 2 years. Still no Kyle, and they just managed to find new guys to take the spotlight, have some really key performances, like Boucher especially had 3 3-pointers kind of in the first quarter of that fourth quarter, and then had an awesome block against Joel Embiid late in the game going up for a layup. And yeah, just fantastic production they've gotten from him. And Terrence Davis had a couple moments. Just different guys stepping up, and that's what we love to see from these Raptors. Speaking of hot teams, we'll move into the later game, the marquee matchup between the Brooklyn Nets and the Los Angeles Clippers. No Kevin Durant in this game, but Kawhi and Paul George in it. And those four, Harden, Kyrie, Kawhi, PG, going at it was awesome. Like, just a bunch of different type of shot creators all getting to their spots, all making buckets. And in the end, this game comes down to a charging call against Kawhi, against James Harden, who was playing some defense, and Kawhi digs the shoulder in to get to a layup, and the refs insert themselves. I think you could have gone away with a non-call there and just let the layup stand to tie the game, but they call offensive on Kawhi, and the Nets get to inbound the ball and play the free throw game and put it away. So a tough ending there, but you could just see that Brooklyn had the better shot makers down the stretch, unless PG and Kawhi were dribbling the ball against DeAndre Jordan, who played late into this game because of a weird injury to Jeff Green in the fourth quarter. But yeah, DeAndre Jordan inserted himself with all the stars there. He had a couple blocks and made some clutch free throws and had the game-winning tip in on a loose offensive rebound. So people have been complaining that the Nets, this is their last pieces they need to upgrade at that center position. But if DeAndre Jordan can, for even just half of the games in a series, give them DeAndre Jordan of 4 years ago, then this Brooklyn Nets team truly is like unstoppable. Because even though DeAndre Jordan was never the best center in the league, He's a guy who could throw down lobs and protect the rim. And that is all they need him to do there in Brooklyn because they got guys who can do everything else. So a big win for the Nets. They've now won 7 in a row. They are 1 game behind the Sixers for first in the Eastern Conference. And slowly but surely, they're putting things together and getting themselves ready for a deep playoff run. So it'll be important to follow them as they continue to make their way through the season. The last games I want to talk about were our Friday night games way back where we had 2 guys go for 50. The MVP frontrunner who got a little bit stifled by Aaron Baines and Chris Boucher, Joel Embiid. 2 nights earlier, everyone was saying, oh, he's unlocked a new level in the video game. Puts up 50, and I think he had double digits rebounds, was close to a triple-double with assists and like 3 blocks and 3 steals. Like he just did everything, and just absolutely torched his opponent that night. But the guy I really want to talk about was Jamal Murray, who put up 50 on 80+% field goal percentage, 80+% from 3. I think he was 21 of 25 on the night and no free throws, but he scores 50. Just an impressive shooting night. He was putting it up from everywhere and it was just falling. And it was, I don't want to say it was Curry-esque because it's just not the same. No one's going to ever replicate how Curry and Clay can explode for points, but Murray for sure was one of the best shooting performances we've seen in a really long time. It's the highest field goal percentage for a 50-point performance since Wilt Chamberlain. So pretty impressive to say the least. And the Nuggets needed that performance from him. And hopefully he can find a little bit more consistency, just the thing that we've been continuing to harp on as the season's gone along. But fun to see that Murray has at least one signature moment this season as we get further along and closer towards the All-Star break. So just more stuff to follow in the NBA. We're looking at getting close to our halfway report of the season. Maybe we'll get that done. But until then, keep enjoying the basketball because it's been really, really great. And the fans are slowly coming back in some of the buildings. So I don't know how that'll affect things going forward.
Yeah, I'm looking. It looks like we're seeing a bit of realignment right now in the East. So I'm kind of hoping to see that wave ride out and then we can make our armchair calls on it. And the way it's trending is more in the direction of what we both called at the start of the season. So I'm like ready to call myself king just a couple more games.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what sort of players are in play at the trade deadline, because obviously we already mentioned there are a lot of teams that think they're in it because of these extra seeds for the play-in tournament, and so less guys available on the trade block. But definitely, that Andre Drummond is out there, JaVale McGee is out there, both from Cleveland. There might be a couple other guys like PJ Tucker, others such as that, who Victor Oladipo, guys who might be on the move from some of those lower seeds. And it depends who's in on these guys. I think Boston is really looking for a shakeup at this point. They had a tough loss against New Orleans yesterday in the afternoon game where there was some great shot making from Tatum, from Ingram, and Zion was being a bully. That was a fun one. Went to overtime. But yeah, Boston's looking for a shakeup. They could be in on someone. If Bradley Beal is actually available, which they continue to deny that he is, but if he's available, that's a game changer for one of these teams, a Boston, a Denver. I don't know who else would be in on him, but the trade deadline is getting closer. And I think if guys get moved, it's going to be over the All-Star break, because then that allows for them to not be playing in a game and it lowers the risk of like COVID spreading. So if you're going to move guys, you want to do it in the time when they're not playing games and maybe not interacting with as many people. So I think that may be when we see the majority of the trades go down, and then we'll be able to reassess what the playoff picture looks like in both conferences. But until then, we will take a quick break and come back for some Combat Corner.